self-deprecating, as you suggest.
What you mean? He has the
He
votes.
has the votes on the cabinet. He's got Congress on his side. He could continue to do this just through...
No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No fascist USA!
The fundamental questions of philosophy should actually interest everyone. My name is James Conant, and my job description is philosopher.
A philosopher in Trump's America. It's Trump's first day in office.
If justice, decency, and truth are no philosophical topics, then I don't know what the fundamental questions of philosophy are. What else would they be?
Philosophy meets reality in the here and now. Conant did not find his way to philosophy directly. In fact, his career seemed clear: to become a scientist. He had the talent for it, but somehow it didn't feel right. James Conant was named after his grandfather, a world-renowned chemist, co-developer of the atomic bomb in the Manhattan Project, and long-term president at Harvard University. James Conant Jr. was in pursuit of his calling, but his interests were too widespread.
At the beginning, during the first 3 years of university, I didn't really take any of the philosophy courses. I found them rather boring. I spent 8 years in college. Usually you can do it in 4. One reason for this was that I was constantly changing my main subject, which had to do with my search for my true calling. And that seemed to be something all-encompassing. I was interested in the fundamentals of physics, the history of natural sciences, the fundamentals of mathematics, even chess problems. My interests always presented themselves in a similar form, and this, in fact, had something to do with philosophy.
Today, he is one of philosophy's most important representatives. Conant is fascinated by placing the world's, even the scientific world's, great questions into new contexts.
I believe one important art in philosophy is the art of asking questions. That is, asking someone a good question, the right question. I believe you could only acquire this ability when you're young. By the time you grow old, it's too late.
He sees himself as a mediator. Very often, supposedly separate things are very close to one another, Conant believes. If you look for the similarities, not reading Wittgenstein in isolation and not looking at analytical philosophy in isolation, but rather, what can the historical author Wittgenstein contribute to current philosophical discussions? Conant has studied the great German philosophers, Wittgenstein, Kant, and is rooted equally deep in the American analytical cosmos of philosophy. This change of perspective is systematic to Conant and part of his personal history. An American with a fascination for everything German, raised in Korea and Japan. Maybe that is why the question of what connects us is more important to him than the question of what separates us.
I think the greatest thing would be if we could create something like a community of philosophers between Chicago and Leipzig, so there would be a lively exchange on all levels. The PhDs, the non-professorial teaching staff, and the professors.
Leipzig, 2 weeks later. With his Humboldt Professorship, Conant wants to help establish a lasting contact point of German-American cooperation in philosophy. In a place that will never be ordinary to him.
The question of what it means to be Jewish and what it means to me to be Jewish. This question only gained a certain seriousness after I came to Germany. How was it possible that the country that gave us Kant, Hegel and Einstein, Heisenberg, Beethoven, Thomas Mann, and so on, was the same country that brought us the killing of 6 million Jews. This was something I just could not understand.
Germany will always be more than a country to him. The world needs philosophy, says Conant, especially in times when truth, as in politics, is not a reliable constant anymore.
I believe that philosophy is not only a peculiar hobby that attracts peculiar people. I believe philosophy exists everywhere. There's no subject that can free itself from philosophy forever, and there's no aspect of life that can remain free from philosophy either.